What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Off the Top Rope here, off the Mike Sports Network. We're heading into a big professional wrestling weekend. You know, a lot of big feuds coming to a head, and a lot of people fighting each other in kayfabe. But in real life, there is some weird shit going on in professional wrestling in terms of the media side of things. I like to think of myself as kind of a novice, and there are content creators who have been at this for a lot longer than me who are now beefing with each other. And one of whom is the preeminent newsbreaker in the wrestling industry, and that's Sean Ross Sapp, who, from his credentials and what he has done, I have respect for a lot of the work that he has done. JD from New York, I don't particularly like some of his the provocative nature of some of his commentary, and it sometimes gets him into a lot of hot water. I understand why a lot of people don't like him, and in some ways I don't really like his method of kind of riling people up, but he's very successful, and both these guys have been very successful in their careers. But this whole Mercedes Moné and um the creative control aspect thing has really just put people off their fucking rockers. Sean Ross Sapp has been very adamant that Mercedes does not have creative control. Whether you believe that or not, I mean, listen, I've stated my case in saying that she's got influence that stretches towards creative control. It may not be a clause in there, but that's my opinion of it. JD has gone way out on a limb and well, not on a limb. He's come up and cited his opinion and his examples of why it is creative control. And it led to this whole argument. These two had beef previously. They have beef now, and they're barking at each other. They're saying things there, and so I talked about this in the context of Ricochet because Ricochet was barking at JD saying, "Hey, House of Glory, don't have him come do my match when I'm there in August." And I was like, what the fuck are you doing, Ricochet? Like, you're a professional wrestler. You should be caring about bigger shit than this. So apparently, Sean Ross Sapp is now doing SRS is doing his media tour. He's at All in Texas, and apparently JD on his social media this morning cited at least 5 or 6 phone calls from Sean Ross Sapp that were made to him. Didn't publicize his phone number. He blacked it out, but published it and basically said, "Hey, I had 6 phone calls from this guy at 12:30 in the morning. It woke me up." This is now stretching to the point of it's almost like a professional wrestling storyline being written, but it's like, my God, the fact that this is going on in real life and these are grown ass men that are older than me that are fighting over petty squabbles over what a news story is. Here's my thing. I understand Sean Ross Sapp is a very proud journalist and he stands by his work. What kind of good journalist wouldn't stand by their work? But to call out a guy who doesn't agree with you is saying that you're not telling the truth. And listen, this is wrestling. This is different than any other medium where okay, some of the stuff that goes on backstage, you blur the lines, whatnot. This is one of the dumbest beefs that I've ever seen. And I've seen some weird shit go on backstage in professional wrestling. But for a content creator and a journalist to be beefing with each other the week of AEW's biggest show of the year, and this is the most talked about thing going on because I didn't like the way Sean started the media call earlier in the week. JD is entitled to his opinion, whether you agree with him or not. If you don't like what he has to say, fucking block him. Don't fucking amplitude it and get into a fucking Twitter war. Because now you're just further dividing the fan base because he's got his legions of fans. Sean Ross Sapp has got his legions of fans. You're just making a scene out of something. Guys, I like to give it a hard time because listen, I have my own opinions about Mercedes Moné and her creative control. I've got my own opinions about it. And I see some of the points that Sean's making, and I see some of the points that JD is making. So, listen, you could say I'm Switzerland here, but the reality of the situation and what I need to highlight here is the way Ricochet conducted himself yesterday and the way that Sean has conducted himself. And yes, JD is kind of an instigator in his own right, but if you're Sean Ross Sapp and you're considered basically the Woj, the Shams of your profession in professional wrestling journalism, and you have a highly successful site in Fightful, don't you think it's not great for your perception to, publicly jaw at people who don't agree with you? It feels to me that this is beneath somebody like Sean. And like I said, I respect a lot of the work that Sean does. Some people think he may be in the pocket of AEW. Some people think that's the reason why he's got the relationship and the scoops that he has with Tony Khan. I have no idea. All I know is what I can base it off of is what transpired here. Because then it stemmed even further where Sean Ross Sapp is basically challenging JD from New York to a fight when he comes to New York in July. Because I think he's coming out. I think he's coming out that week for SummerSlam, for media stuff, because that's the week of SummerSlam. You guys are fucking media people. You're public figures. What the fuck? Sean, what are you doing, man? I don't know you personally, and like I got into a little bit of hot water because I posted one of your Fightful things, like your select things, and I know it's a respect thing because it's behind a paywall. And look, it was no hard feelings whatsoever. I understand that, but this whole squabble is one of the dumbest things that I've ever seen in all my years of watching professional wrestling, and it's not even a wrestling storyline. This isn't something that happened backstage. These are two guys that cover the industry. One of whom is a very opinionated, one who is very opinionated, but also is a newsbreaker. Like, this is so astonishingly dumb. Like, a lot of people say they expect it from JD because, like, that's his personality and he likes to egg people on. But sometimes he is also unapologetically himself. And that gets him into a lot of hot water. And that's why a lot of people in the base don't like him. But for Sean Ross Sapp to really instigate this, and then he's with Ricochet and they're both flipping off the camera in response to one of JD's posts. Listen, I can't I don't even want to side with either one of these guys. Because it's so dumb to be doing this. Everybody's entitled to have their own opinion about stuff. And I understand why Sean is being very proud of his work, but he could have conducted this very privately. He could have handled this matter very privately. This didn't have to get public. Now you're just dividing the fan base. You got your Fightful people. You've got your JD from New York people. You got all these other people, AEW tribalists, WWE tribalists, whatever. Who's ever going to side with whoever? I'm just going to tell you how it is. And this is a bad look, not just for both guys. This is a bad look for the industry. And here's why. These are people that we count on to listen to their opinions and to listen to their information about their content. And now that they're publicly fighting on one of the biggest wrestling weekends of the year is so dumb. And it's a bad look for people like me who aspire to be in positions like these guys, to have platforms like these guys. Like, I'm just a guy who grew up in Southern California. I started doing this for fun. It's gotten up to 1,600 people, and I am eternally grateful. Do some of my opinions rile you up? Sure. But I'm not going to get into a fucking fight with people. I'm not going to instigate a fight. And when you have a platform like these two guys do, this is so dumb. And especially for Sean Ross Sapp, because that guy has built an incredible reputation in terms of a lot of the information that he gets and how he's able to obtain it. And yes, there is some leaning stuff that you could make the case for, but why get involved in this dumb internet shit? This is so beneath these guys. JD has gotten himself into a lot of hot water. So in some respect, you could kind of get that this was some sort of expectation. But for him to be kind of the diplomatic, I'm not going to say he was the diplomatic guy because he was saying profanities and saying a bunch of other shit too. But we're challenging people to fights. Like, seriously? Like, guys, you don't need to do this. Your job is to talk about the wrestlers and not to wrestle, okay? In a pro wrestling industry and in a combat sports industry, you're paid to talk and report about this stuff. Yet here we are, biggest weekend of the year, and we're talking about something that doesn't have anything to do with wrestling. We have something to talk about with two guys who are squabbling over creative control. I've made my opinions about it, but this is one of the dumbest thing this is one of the dumbest stories that I think I may ever talk about. Because I just think it's an awful look for the industry. It's an awful look for content creators because we are all trying to aspire in some respect to have a platform like that. That's my whole thing. So anyway, I hope I'm not going to talk about this anymore because this like a lot of the stuff surrounding the AEW side has just been really ridiculous the whole fucking week. So we'll get to All in Texas. We'll get there. We'll see how it goes. We'll be reacting to it here live on the channel. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.